And with us now is Broderick Turner, assistant professor of marketing at Virginia Tech and co-author of a research article on how school choice can increase racial segregation. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us. So based on your research, how does school choice make segregation better or worse?
Yeah, so school choice changes, what it does is allows for parents to pick schools based on their preferences. And the historical preferences are set up such that folks that go to majority white schools have more resources on average. Children that go to majority black school have less resources on average. And so if school choice is allowed unabated, white parents don't really move and black parents tend to. And what we find with these simulation exercises is that this leads to even greater racial segregation, even if you turned off racism, right? So we create these economic simulations and say, okay, what would it look like if racism didn't exist? And it still leads to greater racial segregation. So that's our big finding.
Because we live in I mean, do you think that speaks to the idea that in this country we are as segregated by money as we are by race? I mean, if you have the resources in some ways, in terms of this school issue in particular, because if you live in a neighborhood with money, you're either going to send your kid to private school or it's a neighborhood with a very good school. In other words, there becomes a dividing line between race and money, and usually on the poor end of that stick are people of color, unfortunately, for reasons we all understand. And people are quick to see through race when money is as much a stratifier.
So you said something important there, Rob. You said good schools. So we should be really clear and really careful about what we mean when we say good, because often good stands in the place of status when good should be in the place of growth, right? And there are lots of schools that serve a variety of students on a variety of incomes, from low income to high income, from white to black, from Asian to Hispanic to diverse or not, that have strong growth plans for their students, right? This idea that there's a magic school I can send my kid to and it's just going to be good because the kids there are good is fallacious, and we should avoid that. Instead, we should ask, do these schools have the resources and the teachers and the support they need so that they can put in growth for their students? And that can be a lot of schools.
And just to be clear, when I say good, I mean high graduation rate, high test scores, diverse, resources they need, parental involvement. I think the things that most people would put on the list of a good school. We generally define them the same way.
Let's use test scores as an example. Like, if I only look at test scores today, static test scores, then we know that the SAT is nearly perfectly correlated to your parents' household income. Does that mean that the kids learned anything or the school was good? No, they just had money. But we can look at change in test scores. We can look at change in reading level from one year to the next. And those are the schools that we should be promoting and saying are good. And again, there are a lot of schools that fit that. The beauty about public education in America is that there's this idea that public schools are failing, but that's not really the case. Public education in America is pretty amazing. So amazing, in fact, that other countries come here and want to emulate the success we've had teaching almost everybody how to read. That is pretty amazing, and we should not accept this premise that private schools or charter schools are necessarily better and will better serve our students when we have this awesome invention already, these public schools that exist and are doing amazing work as is.
So how can school choice policies be changed then to both allow for choice, but to also prevent segregation? Because it seems like one of those, I don't want to call it a problem, but there's a lot of different solutions out there, and which one comes first seems to be the problem.
Yeah, so I would think about this, Alex, in terms of, does school choice actually get to the goal that we want? If the goal is a well-educated citizenry, right? If the goal is we teach almost everybody how to read, that we fully support special education, then maybe school choice is not something that's going to get us to that goal. Right. In some ways, we are still living in like Milton Friedman's libertarian fever dream from 1955. They really believe that he should privatize. Economists believe we should privatize everything. We should have private schools, private health care, private roads, private housing, and nothing public. And basically use this school choice as a way to get white supremacists at the time, post Brown v. Board, to accept this premise that we should segregate, and vouchers and school choice is a way to do it without violating the Brown v. Board statute, right? And so if that's the history that this thing has been built in, maybe we should ignore it and say this is a bad idea, that this does take money away from public schools. I think, you know, if there's a right or wrong course, I actually think Joe Biden is right on this issue, that school vouchers do make schools, public schools, worse and lead to worse outcomes and education for everyone.
As a public school, probably public schools, I always appreciate, we appreciate, you know, the passion you bring to the issue. And it's worth noting, because I think this is also an underplayed story, that in that recent Supreme Court decision, Justice Thomas pretty directly hinted at revisiting, being open to revisiting the Brown versus Board of Education decision. We don't have nearly enough time to break that one down, but I just want to flag that for the record.
Like us.
All right.
We'll leave it there for now. I'm just flagging that because that was a big part of that ruling. I don't think the media paid enough attention to it.
Right. Broderick, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Have a good one.